719 is where we need to move the decimal point in both the divisor and the dividend, and we need to move it the same amount of decimal places or place values. So I can think of it as I'm multiplying this by 100, so I need to multiply the dividend by 100 because I'm moving it over 2 spots, 2 zeros. And so this is going to go over 1, 2, and then this is going to go over 1, 2. The reason I like to do it with the little things down at the bottom is because then I know I have to fill in a 0 here, because I'm actually taking this decimal point and moving it over twice. But remember, the reason we do that is because whatever we do to the dividend, we're doing to the divisor, and really it's multiplying it by 100. But like I said, I like to do the shortcut here that I showed you guys in class. So if I've moved that over, this is 7, and now I've moved that over and added the 0. So I have 420, and now this again is just mental math. 7 goes into 42 6 times, and then I can just bring that 0 up. If you want to do the whole problem out, I can say 7 does not go into 4. It goes into 42 twice. I'm going to multiply, subtract, bring down. 7 goes into 0 0 times. But most of you will be able to see that it will just go straight into that. Again, I move this over 1, so I move this over 1. Everything follows the divisor. So how many ever spaces you need to move that over, you move it over there. And then I have a true, like, rocket math fact. 8 goes into 24 3 times. So here again, I'm going over 1, 2. So I'm going over 1, 2. And now I don't need to add zeros, but I need to remember to have that decimal point there. So I have 206.4 divided by 24. 24 does not go into 2. It does not go into 20. And I'm going to think about quarters. So I know that 4 quarters make $1 and 8 quarters make $2. And I should bring my decimal point straight up. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19. And then I'm going to subtract, and I get 14. 14 is less than 24. I can bring down my 4. And once again, if I think of quarters, 4 quarters is $1. 5 quarters is 125. So I have 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 plus 2 is 12. And I get exactly 24 as my remainder, which now I know I only have to go up 1, and it's going to get exactly right on. So if I go up to 6, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14. And then I get my answer. Now here's the tricky thing with word problems. You know that you're going to divide, but you have to remember what you're dividing by what. So we have a total. It says a beekeeper collected 7.6 liters of honey. She will pour it into bottles. In other words, she's going to divide it into bottles that each hold 0.95 liters. How many bottles will she fill? So the total that she has is 7.6. She's going to divide it into bottles that hold 0.95. Now I take this and I move my decimal points over like this. So now I have 95 goes into 760, and I have 7, and 95 we could round up to 100, so I'm just going to try 7, and I get 35, 63 to 66, and that gets me to exactly 95, so I know that I have to take all of this away, and I'm going to go up 1 to 8. 8 times 5, and I know it's going to be exactly right on. So it gets me to 8 bottles. Now let's say that you didn't know how, which way to divide it, and you did it the backwards way where you said 7.6 and 0.95, and you moved this over. Your answer would have been that you would have filled it. You would have filled something like 0.6 bottles, which wouldn't have made any sense, and you would have known that wasn't the way to do it. Number 7 says a very small dinosaur, the Microraptor, was only 1.3 feet long. One of the largest dinosaurs, the Diplodocus, was about 91 feet long. How many times as long as the Microraptor was the Diplodocus? So it's saying the Microraptor times what equals the Diplodocus? And we know that we have 1.3 times what equals 91. Now I'm going to simplify this problem like I've done before. If I have 3 times what equals 6, that's the same thing as saying 6 divided by 3, which looks like this. So now I can take, I have 91 and I'm dividing it by 1.3, but I'm going to move these over. That means I add a 0, and I'm going to erase how I moved it, just so I don't have to rewrite it. 13 doesn't go into 9, but it goes into 91 about 8 times. 8 times 3 is 20. Oops, that I can see right away is going to be too much. So I am going to make it go down to 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Don't forget to bring down the 0. You're not done with 7. You have 13 goes into 0 times. So it is 70 times as long. Tomorrow in the town of Eastwood, there will be a big race that is 5.25 kilometers long. A water station will be set up every 0.75 kilometers, including at the finish line. How many water stations will there be? In other words, this 5.25 kilometers is divided into 0.75 sections. So we're going to take 5.2, don't know why this isn't writing very well. Let me try again. I'm going to take 5.25 divided by 0.75, which if I move this over 2 and I move this over 2, they are both just whole numbers. So I'm going to erase. There's no trace of a decimal point anywhere. And then I'm going to think, okay, 75 doesn't go into 5 and it doesn't go into 52. So 75, if I say 8 goes into 52 about 6 times, but I'm going to go up to 7 since I rounded up. 7 times 5 is 35, 49, 50, 51, 52. Oh, finally, I got it right. So we have 7 water stations. So here, because we're talking about area, we think of our formula of area equals length times width. And we have this unknown, which means we need to divide these two. So we're going to divide 29.76 by 6.2. If we move this over 1, we move this over 1, which means now it's here. So I'm going to bring that straight up. I'm going to round this to 60. 6 goes in, it doesn't go into 2, it doesn't go into 29, but 6 goes into 29 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 6 is 24. And then when I subtract, I get 49. 49 is less than 62, so I can bring down my 6. 6 goes into 48, 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 1 more is 49, so we have 4.8 meters. On the remembering side, we have Jessie and Jeff are planting seeds. Jessie said she planted 3/8 of the seeds, and Jeff said he planted 2/3 of the seeds. Is this possible? Well, assuming that they planted all of the seeds, if we add what Jessie said she planted with what Jeff said he planted, we find a common denominator, which is in this case 24. 3, we have to multiply both of these by 8. We multiply 8 by 3, we get 9. 9 plus 16 is 25, and our denominator stays the same. 25 24ths, remember 24 over 24 equals 1 whole. So this is more than 1, so it is not possible because 25 24ths is greater than 1 whole. You can't plant more than the whole garden. Number 2 says Ruth needs 3 1/4 yards of fabric to make a small quilt. She has 1 7/8 yards in her fabric box. How much more fabric does she need? Here's our key, how much more. She has 3 1/4. She has 1 7/8. So we're going to subtract how much more. Our common denominator is 8 because if I do my count bys of my larger denominator, 8 times 1 is 8, and 4 goes into 8. So this fraction stays the same. This one I had to multiply these by 2. And because I can't take 2 minus 7 and get a whole number, I'm going to borrow from here, which is the same thing as 1 whole. And that makes this a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. Our denominator stays the same. 2 minus 1 is 1. So she needs to buy 1 3/8 yard more. In number 3, I'm going to let you figure out. There are some key phrases here for you to see. And your denominators are already common. You should be able to figure this one out, although you're going to need to borrow.